Major themes in the Book of Lamentations. The Book of Lamentations presents a profound meditation on suffering, judgment, and hope, written in the aftermath of Jerusalem's destruction in 586 BC. The imagery is stark and emotional, portraying the once glorious city as a lonely widow, stripped of her splendor and left in ruins. This opening picture sets the tone for the entire book, a community grappling with the catastrophic consequences of its downfall. The destruction is not described merely as a political or military event but as a deeply spiritual crisis. Jerusalem's collapse is understood as the result of persistent disobedience, and the writer acknowledges that the calamity comes as divine judgment. This acknowledgement of God's justice is woven throughout the poems. The people's suffering is unbearable, yet it is recognized as the rightful outcome of their rebellion against God's laws and warnings. At the heart of Lamentations lies an honest exploration of human suffering. The poems do not soften the brutality of famine, violence, loss, and grief. Mothers mourn their children, priests and elders faint in the streets, and refugees wander without comfort. The emotional weight of this suffering is equally heavy, producing a sense of abandonment, confusion, and sorrow that permeates the text. Yet this grief is not without purpose. The poet, traditionally associated with Jeremiah, does not simply observe the suffering, he enters into it. He identifies with the people's pain, describing himself as one who has seen affliction by the rod of his wrath, and he uses his voice to cry out on behalf of the nation. This intercessory grief reflects a deep solidarity between the prophet, the people, and God. Perhaps the most striking moment in the book comes in its center, where hope unexpectedly rises from the ashes of despair. Amid descriptions of affliction and bitterness, the writer recalls the steadfast nature of God. Through the Lord's mercies we are not consumed. Great is your faithfulness. This declaration does not deny the suffering but frames it within the larger reality of God's enduring compassion. The poems suggest that even in judgment, God has not abandoned his people. His mercy remains a source of renewal. This moment of hope leads to a call for repentance, urging the people to search out and examine our ways, and turn back to the Lord. The suffering becomes a catalyst for spiritual introspection, emphasizing that restoration begins with returning to God in humility. Underlying the entire book is the conviction that God is sovereign over all nations and events. The destruction of Jerusalem is not random but fulfills God's spoken word. This sovereignty is both a source of fear and a foundation for hope, for the God who judges is also the God who restores. As the book draws to a close, the tone shifts from mourning to pleading. The final prayer, "Restore us to yourself, O Lord, that we may be restored," captures the tension between desolation and hope that defines Lamentations. The poet recognizes that healing and renewal are possible only through God's initiative and mercy. Ultimately, Lamentations teaches that mourning itself is a form of faith. By remembering the devastation, the community refuses to ignore the consequences of sin and the reality of God's justice. At the same time, the act of lament opens the door to renewal, reminding the people of God's unchanging character and inviting them to trust in his compassion once more. Through its raw emotion and theological depth, the book offers a timeless reflection on the nature of suffering, divine justice, repentance, and the surprising resilience of hope.